What is up guys, welcome back to another video. This time the legacy GPU battle welcomes the GTX 460 and the Radeon HD 6870. Matched closely across most of their specs, who will take the crown this time? Only one way to find out. The GTX 460 released in July 2010 and for around $229 USD, it was the more sensible option from the 400 series of Fermi cards. It was available with either 768MB or 1GB of GDDR5 memory that was clocked at 900MHz. The core clock was 675MHz, however, in my case, the Gigabyte card came pre-overclocked to 715MHz. The Radeon HD 6870, codename Bart's XT, released in October 2010 for $239 USD, so about 10 USD more. Unlike the older 5000 series, the 6870 was no longer the fastest single-core option in the lineup, and AMD introduced the HD 6970 that took this spot. The 6870 came with 1GB of GDDR5 memory that was clocked at 1050MHz and a core clock of 900MHz. This should be one interesting battle, but first, let's take a closer look. Both cards will take 2 slots in your case and require 2 6-pin power connectors to power on. The Sapphire card is only slightly bigger and offers far superior options when connecting to your monitor. Starting with the HD 6870 first, all it really takes are 4 screws at the back. The lack of thermal paste now explains why temps shot right up to 80s when I first tested this card. The cooler features copper baseplate and 3 fat heat pipes. I really like what I see here. You know the drill, time to get some isopropyl out and clean the old paste and reapply some fresh MX4. Then it's time to simply put the card back together. Right, the 460 also only has 4 screws at the back and is super easy to open. Its cooler has 2 nice heat pipes, but there is no copper at the baseplate to be seen. After a fresh MX4 is applied, let's check the thermals and acoustics next. Under a typical load, the 460 peaked at just 63C and I've measured around 55.5 dB. The 6870 peaked at 66 degrees and the noise was around 57 dB. Jumping into Heaven benchmark next, and the 6870 at stock speeds scored 618 points, beating the 460 by 20%. With 10% overclock applied, the scores jumped to 661 and 554 respectively. The total system power consumption was lower by 21 watts at the wall with the 6870, really nice to see. Going forwards, I'm going to add scores and expand this graph, hopefully providing some nice comparison as we move to newer and more powerful GPUs. In 3D Mark's Firestrike, the 6870 beats the GTX 460 by 13%. Now let's test some games. Starting off in 2014's Wolfenstein: The New Order. At 1080p with high settings enabled, both cards pushed around 52 FPS on average. The GPU utilization was better with the Nvidia card, however, the 6870 pushed ever so slightly better 1 and 0.1% lows. I can't really declare a winner in this title. Next, it's 2017's Prey and at medium settings. The GTX 460 pulls ahead, and with 40 FPS on average, it offered a better and smoother experience. The 1 and 0.1 lows were also higher, so this one goes to the Team Green. Switching to some fast-paced action, and we test 2018's Grip. This roll cage inspired game was on sale for cheap. I'm really glad I picked a copy. Using the lowest available settings, both cards manage around 48 FPS on average. I can't really pick a winner here too, so it's another draw. Far Cry 3 comes up next. With medium settings, both cards offered good experience, but the HD 6870 just takes it with 62 FPS on average. The 1 and 0.1 figures do favour Nvidia, however, I didn't notice any significant stutters and happy to give AMD a point here. Next game tested was 2014's Alien Isolation, and here, trying to sneak past a working Joe, AMD really pushed harder and managed to beat the 460 by about 15%. At 56 FPS on average, it was smooth but very scary experience. Picking up a newer title for the next test, Days Gone at 1080p with lowest possible settings and at 50% render scale. I must admit, the engine scaled nicely with settings, however, the graphics looked awful. The HD 6870 did better, once again, and at 46 FPS on average, scores another point.
What's this?
And the last game we tested today was Carmageddon Max Damage. This 2016's title ran with balanced preset, which puts most of the graphical settings to low or medium. The 6870 striked again, and at 50 FPS on average, it takes a comfortable 28% lead over the GTX 460. Here we go, the turn of the sub 250 USD DirectX 11 capable cards. Which is your favourite? Let me know down in the comments below. Team Red came strong in this week's video, but let's first run the scores. Clearly a more powerful, and in both synthetic benchmarks, the first 2 points go over to the HD 6870. For noise and thermals, the Gigabyte GTX 460 was better of the two. Despite the lack of copper off the heatsink's baseplate, lower thermals and lower noise output granted 2 points to Nvidia. The lower power consumption is important, especially nowadays, and a 13% reduction is nice to see, so there's a point to AMD there. The game testing really went well for the Team Red. There's 4 points to the HD 6870 and just a single point to GTX 460. Remember, there were also a couple of draws too. And lastly, the used value. I paid just £12 or 14 USD for the GTX 460. On the other hand, the 6870 was more expensive, and at £22 or 26 USD, it comes second in this category. The second-hand market suggests the same. It's clear the 460 is the cheaper card here. And it comes as no surprise at this point, the winner of this week's legacy battle is the brilliant HD 6870.
Nice.
I think both cards are great, and the game testing was really close at first, but then the AMD card is more powerful of the two. I hope you enjoyed, let me know in the comments down below. And now for some sad news. About 80% of views on this channel come from the folks who are not subscribed, and I would love to change this. If you do enjoy the content, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It drives my motivation forward, and most importantly, that way you won't miss any of the future uploads. We are approaching newer cards with more VRAM, and some crazy dual GPU cards are to be tested soon too. Next week's video should be about Intel's first generation of Core i7 processor. As ever, thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next one.